Hello, and welcome to All Things Fantasy Football. I'm Max.
And I'm Wyeth.
And today we're going to be talking about wide receiver rankings.
Alright, first, as you can see on the screen, we'll be giving our non-PPR wide receiver rankings. And as expected, and pretty much on everyone's list, we both have Antonio Brown and DeAndre Hopkins going at number 1 and 2. And I have at number 3, I have Keenan Allen, and I am predicting a major season from him. I think he finished around 6 last year in non-PPR, and most of that came towards the end of the season, and he had many 100-plus yards game. He got a lot of touchdowns, and I think he's going to continue that next year because the Chargers, they had a great run at the end of the season. They probably would have made the playoffs if a few things went better because they lost so many games by 3 or less points. And just Keenan Allen was so strong at the end of the year, and I think he's going to continue that next year.
Yeah, and I have Odell Beckham at 3rd. Yes, he was injured last season. I feel like despite my prediction of Eli Manning going downhill, I still feel like Odell Beckham will have a comeback season and be...
Yeah, I agree. I have Odell at 6. I still think he'll have a very good season. I don't have him as high as 3, but I agree. I think he's a candidate for comeback player of the year. And at 4, I have Julio Jones, and to a lot of fantasy owners, he was a major disappointment last year. He only had 3 touchdowns, and one of those came from Mohamed Sanu. So he actually only got 2 touchdowns from his quarterback, Matt Ryan. And I think that's going to turn around this year. I think he's going to have at least 8 touchdowns, and he's going to get a lot of yards like he always gets, and that's why I have him at number 4.
Yeah, I have Julio all the way at number 7. I feel like last year he just, same thing like he was saying, the fantasy owners were a little disappointed in him. I don't think he is going to improve at all from last year. I feel like he'll either decrease or stay the same. That's why I have him as my number 7.
And all right, at number 5, both of us have Devontae Adams, and he is now the sole number 1 wide receiver on the team now that Jordy Nelson is gone. Last year, Devontae Adams, he just skyrocketed. He had 10 touchdowns last year, and including 22 in the past 2 years, and now he's just going to build off that because he's the lone number 1 wide receiver now.
He does have Randall Cobb and Jimmy Graham as co-receivers on the team, but he's still the main target that Aaron Rodgers will go to. And then for the rest of our rankings, I have Michael Thomas as number 4. He has him as number 7. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, I have Michael Thomas at number 7. I still think he's going to do very good, but I think lack of touchdowns is a concern for me. Last year, he only had 5 touchdowns, I believe, and I think it's going to be a similar case this year, where he doesn't get that many touchdowns, and that's why I have him fairly low on my non-PPR rankings.
I have him at 4 because I feel like, yes, he was low on touchdowns, but I think he's going to raise that number this year, especially with Mark Ingram out first few weeks. That's taking away from them running the ball in because Alvin Kamara is a tough running back. However, he's not Mark Ingram. He's not as bulky. He can't push through the line as much, which means they won't run through the line at the 1-yard line as much this season to start off the first 4 weeks, and that's why I think they'll pass it, and Michael Thomas might get more attention there.
Yeah. At number 8, I have Mike Evans. He didn't have a great year last year. He was a disappointment to many fantasy owners, and I think this year, he's going to turn around. He's going to have a season like he did a couple years ago, and I have strong faith in Mike Evans this year.
I have him all the way at number 15. I'm still going with the trend that he set last year, being not as consistent as he was before. Back up to where we were. My number 8 is Keenan Allen. Wyeth had him at number 3. He's decent, but I don't think he's going to be top 5.
And at number 9, I have AJ Green.
He's my number 6.
He's his number 6, and I'm honestly not a great fan of AJ Green. I don't think I've ever owned him in any league because he always seems to get injured. It's like he's really good when he's healthy, but it seems like he's just never healthy. And I think if he does stay healthy all year, he'll be good. But I don't know if he'll stay healthy all year.
That's because I had him last year and he just beat Wyeth a lot. Just kidding.
What else? Oh yeah. TY. We both have TY at number 9 and 10, which is higher than most analyst rankings on ESPN or some other website. I think we both have faith that Andrew Luck's going to bring him back to top 10 in fantasy this year. Because last year, when he had Jacoby Brissett and that horrible line, it wasn't really Brissett's fault. It was just that horrible line. Brissett couldn't do anything. T.Y. Hilton's stats fell off. He didn't even have 1,000 yards, and he only had 4 touchdowns. And fantasy owners just hated him.
But from 2013 to 2016, he had over 1,000 yards each of those seasons, and pretty high receiving amount of receptions as well. 2013 to 14, both with 82, 2016 with 91. Compared to the 2017, he only had 57 receptions with Brissett as his quarterback. So
I think with the addition of Andrew Luck, T.Y. will also benefit with his touchdown count. He only had 4 touchdowns with Brissett last year. I think he'll go up to at least 7 or 8 with Luck next year.
However, the most touchdowns he's had in a season were 7, both in 2012 and 2014. So that would be an increase for his career high if he were to get 8. But I could see him doing that.
All right.
Number 10, mine is Allen Robinson. So it seems as Wise doesn't even have Allen Robinson on his top 20.
Not even on my list.
I'm saying, yes, he was on my make or break list for either star player or bust. But I'm feeling like Mitch Trubisky will have a little bit, boost of a season from last year. He'll be the starter all season. And Allen Robinson will be his go-to target. And when Allen Robinson's healthy, he's unstoppable, in my opinion. So I feel like Allen Robinson can be top 10 right there.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's Allen Robinson's fault. I think Allen Robinson's a very good player, but I don't think Mitch Trubisky is going to be able to throw him the ball enough. Because only playing good when Bortles was doing good.
That's true.
And I don't think Mitch Trubisky is an upgrade from Bortles. I don't see Allen Robinson just being great next year.
Yeah.
So I don't have him in my top 20.
I agree. I don't like Mitch Trubisky. Yeah. I mean, not that I don't like him. I just don't have trust in him. However, I just have some gut feeling that Allen Robinson will be a pretty good fantasy receiver next season.
At 11, I have Doug Baldwin, and Max has Stephon Diggs. Doug Baldwin's been pretty much at the 10 to 13 mark for the past 4 or 5 years, and I see him continuing that next year as Russell Wilson's #1 go-to target.
Hear this stat. Russell Wilson has accounted for 37 of last year's 38 offensive touchdowns on the team. And so that means that he's either throwing it or running it in. And Doug Baldwin's his leading target now, especially with Jimmy Graham gone. All he has is Tyler Lockett and Brandon Marshall behind Doug Baldwin. So I feel like Doug Baldwin will have a big year right here.
Yeah, you have Stephon Diggs at 11. I have him at 15. We both have him ahead of Adam Thielen.
So yeah, Adam Thielen did get plenty more yards and catches than Diggs did this past season. However, Diggs did double the amount of touchdowns that Thielen got with 8.
Okay. Number 12, I have Alshon Jeffrey. He's currently the #1 receiver on the Eagles, but there are some injury concerns. I think if he is healthy, he can be top 12. But the news is that he could be out to start the season. So if that is the case, you do not want to pick Alshon Jeffrey.
And go with Nelson Aguilar, who will be his replacement and be a star player. Alright, my number 12 is Brandon Cooks on the Rams now. Yes, Robert Woods is his backup, and Robert Woods is a pretty good receiver as well. He was targeted about average 6.9 catches a game, or targets a game, and that number's gonna go down because Brandon Cooks is there now. If Brandon Cooks wasn't on the team, I'd say Robert Woods is top 15 fantasy worthy for this season. However, with Cooks will be that #1 receiver for Goff, and Goff will have a Hall of Fame season, my prediction.
I don't even have Brandon Cooks in my top 20 just because I think the Rams have so many weapons. I mean, they got on top of Cooks, they have Robert Woods, they got Todd Gurley, and who's their other receiver? They got
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp. I forgot about him. Yeah, so they got Todd Gurley, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods, who were all like big targets for Goff last year, and I just don't see Cooks like. Cooks will definitely get in the mix, but I don't see him getting in the mix enough to like break top 20. I think he'll be like around like the 22, 23 mark. And yeah. Oh yeah, next interesting thing is at 13 I have Amari Cooper, and Max doesn't even have him on his list.
Nope.
And the reason for me thinking that Amari Cooper is top 13 is because he's done it in the past. He's produced at that level in the past. And now that they have Gruden as head coach, I think he can bring back their #1 receiver. And every year that Gruden's been head coach, their #1 receiver has had at least 1,000 yards in a season. So that makes me think that Amari Cooper can return to the form he did a few years ago.
Now that I agree with that, however, the fact that they signed Martavis Bryant and Jordy Nelson in the offseason makes me a little concerned that Cooper won't be the #1 target. I mean, it's possible that it is, but I think it'll all be split evenly within the 3 receivers if they all stay healthy and not suspended Martavis. So I just think that Cooper won't have as good of a season as he's had a couple years ago.
All right, next we have Larry Fitzgerald. Max has him at number 14. I have him number 18. He's sort of a make or break player this year. Like, he's always had good seasons in the past, but he's had Carson Palmer the past few years, and now with a new quarterback, Sam Bradford, you just don't know how he's going to perform. Yeah, even Josh Rosen, you just don't know how he's going to perform. But I mean, he's Larry Fitzgerald, so the odds are that he's going to perform, and that's why I have him down at 18 rather than 14, because I just don't know how he's going to perform. But I'm definitely predicting some decent production out of him.
All right, let's talk about Tyreek Hill next. You have him at 14. I have him at 17. I have a little to say about him. Tyreek Hill, last year, his stats were so good on the road. However, at home, they were not even comparable. Towards the end of the season, they were a little bit more even, based at a little more balance between home and away games. But that was with Alex Smith connection right there. And with the new quarterback in here, Patrick Mahomes does have a great arm. He has a strong arm. However, I don't know if the connection will be there just because they haven't had as much time to practice. Though they do have the whole training camp and everything, they don't have the full connection that that Tyreek Hill had with Alex Smith. And for that reason, I have Tyreek Hill lower than 15.
And then, next player I want to talk about is Demaryius Thomas. Okay, I think Demaryius Thomas is also like a make or break type of player because he has a new quarterback in Case Keenum, and you just don't know how he's going to perform. Keenum, he played well with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs last year, but now he's on a whole different team, and the Broncos O-line is questionable, and you don't know how much time Keenum's going to have to throw Demaryius the ball. And ever since Peyton left the Broncos, Demaryius has not been even like top 15.
Same with Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, same with Emmanuel Sanders. Before, with Peyton Manning, he was top 5, top 3, and now he's like top 15. Like, might not even be top 15 with Keenum. So that's why I have him at 16. I do believe he'll get some production with Keenum, but nowhere near the Peyton Manning levels, and maybe not even as good as last year, but maybe a little better than last year.
He's just outside my top 20. I have him at like 22, 23.
And then who else can we talk about?
Let's talk about Doug Baldwin. Oh, we already talked about
Doug.
Okay.
What else?
Let's talk about Chris Hogan.
Okay, Chris Hogan.
He's my 21 receiver. That's why Chris Hogan is not on my list. Wyeth has him at number 19.
Yeah, I think Chris Hogan, he's a very good deep threat for Brady, but I don't see him being much more than 19 or 20 just because Brady likes to spread the ball around to a lot of different guys, especially his running backs. Now they have Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, and James White, all running backs for Brady to throw to, as well as Edelman coming back off the 4-game suspension, as well as Gronk and
newly acquired receiver Eric Decker.
Oh yeah, and they have Eric Decker now, just as of like an hour ago.
When we filmed this. Yeah, so based on my ranks, I would have put Chris Hogan on my list if I would have put Chris Hogan on my list if I wrote my list before today, because now that they lost Jordan Matthews, who wasn't going to be a big receiver on their team, but in my opinion was a sleeper until he was put on the IR and then later released, I felt like Chris Hogan could step up and be that number 1 receiver that will be Tom Brady's favorite target and could score a lot of touchdowns and a lot of yards in the first few weeks before Edelman comes back, and then still be a consistent number 2 receiver, getting a lot of points. However, I don't know if that's the case with Eric Decker on the team, who hasn't been performing as well as he used to. He hasn't really been a starter on a team for a while, but he still might take away some of the attention from Hogan.
Yeah, another player I want to talk about is Jarvis Landry. This is kind of another make or break guy because he's on the Browns now, so you have no idea if he's going to be good or not. I mean, you don't know if whoever's throwing him, if Tyrod Taylor or Baker Mayfield, you just don't know if they're going to get him the ball. I mean, Jarvis has led the league in receptions in the past few years, and I see that stopping now that he's on the Browns, and just because he's on the Browns, like no one seems to perform on the Browns. But I have him at number 17 because I think he can get some production.
Yeah, I don't even have him on my list. I don't think that you can trust Jarvis Landry in this game on the Browns this season. I just feel like he has new quarterbacks, and I don't think he can perform as well as he has been.
Yeah,
I would like to talk about my 19, Pierre Garcon, 49ers. He was great last season until he got hurt. Now with a quarterback like Garoppolo, which can make better passes than what they had before, I feel like Pierre Garcon can maybe even potentially be top 15 receiver by the end of the season if he stays healthy. I'm just a little worried that Marquise Goodwin might take a little of the attention away, but I think Pierre Garcon could be potentially a top receiver in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pierre Garcon can be very good, but Goodwin, I think, can take away some touches from him, but I think he has potential with Garoppolo, who's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And should we move on to PPR?
Yeah. Now we're going to do our...
All right. We're going to move on to PPR. We're going to show it up on the screen for you guys. They're not that much different from non-PPR. Just a little different for the guys to get a lot of catches. Like I have Michael Thomas a little higher than I did last time. I basically swapped Michael Thomas to Devontae Adams. So I moved Michael Thomas up to 5 because he gets about 100 catches a year, while Devontae hasn't had a season above 75. So that's 25 points right there where Michael Thomas is going to pass up Devontae Adams. And
now I completely dropped DeAndre Hopkins from 2 to 4. I don't feel like he'll get as many catches this season. I feel like Deshaun Watson will take control of the whole offense, throw it everywhere, throw it to the running backs, throw it to Will Fuller, and I feel like DeAndre Hopkins just won't get that many receptions this year, which I'm a little iffy about. But I think Odell Beckham and Michael Thomas will get lots of catches this season, and they'll be big targets on their offense, and for that reason I have them ranked higher.
Yeah, it also seems that T.Y. Hilton moved up on both of our lists.
With Andrew Luck coming back.
Yeah, with Andrew Luck coming back. The last year Andrew Luck was healthy, T.Y. had 91 receptions. Yeah, he had 91 receptions, 1,448 yards. And I just see that continue with Andrew Luck. I think the connection is going to be right back where it was before, getting 90-plus catches.
And if you look at their other receivers on the team, they have Ryan Grant and Chester Rogers, who are both don't even compare to T.Y. skill-wise. And for that reason, T.Y. should be the main target on the team, main focus, and high up on the fantasy level this year.
Yeah, I could see T.Y. getting 100 catches this year. But yeah, it appears Julio dropped down on your list a little bit. I mean,
yeah, so Julio did drop down. Receptions-wise, I just don't feel like he'll be as strong.
He didn't get as much last year as he does before.
Plus, they now have a new receiver in Calvin Ridley, who is a rookie, and they might want to look to him to give him some experience so he can be that top receiver like they expect him to be. So I feel like he'll take away from Julio's receptions as well.
Yeah, another guy that moved up my list is Demaryius Thomas. Seems no matter who his quarterback is, he's still able to get a lot of catches. The yards have definitely taken a dip. The touchdowns have definitely taken a dip. But the receptions, he's always gotten a lot of receptions. I think that is why I moved him up to number 12. And another guy that's also moved up a lot for us is Larry Fitzgerald. It seems like he always gets at least 100 catches a season. He's got number 9 for Max, number 13 for me, and I should probably put Larry at number 12 and Demaryius number 13 if I redid my list, but I think Larry's a very good PPR wide receiver this year.
Now, if it was Carson Palmer still a quarterback for the Cardinals, I would have Larry Fitzgerald closer to 5 or 6. However, it's a new quarterback. I don't want to put all my trust in him yet to have that connection with Fitzgerald, and that's why I have Fitzgerald at 9.
And yeah, other than that, nothing's really changed that much. Jarvis moved up for me because I think he always gets a lot of receptions. And also, Amari Cooper moved down for me because he's more of a deep ball guy and doesn't get as many receptions, especially now that Martavis Bryant and Jordy Nelson are on the team. Mm-hmm. As well, he has running backs to throw to. And Brandon Cooks also moved up for me because he can get receptions. And Adam Thielen also moved up for me because he had a lot of receptions last year.
And it's kind of like what he said with Amari Cooper with the long ball. That's why Tyreek Hill moved down just one, but he still moved down because he is the same. He's more that deep ball guy that beats everyone out, catches the long ball, and scores the touchdown. And for that reason, he doesn't get as many receptions.
All right, that's it.
And that's it for today, guys.
Thank you for watching.
I'm Max.
And I'm Wyeth.
And this is ATFF Fantasy Football.